Good morning. Would you please rise in body or spirit and join us in our warm-up hymn, which is number 1040, Hush, in the teal hymnal. Hush. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Soon one morning, death come creeping in my room. Soon one morning, death come creeping in my room. Soon one morning, death come creeping in my room. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. I'm so glad trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Please be seated.
Okay. Good morning. So I learned this morning that from someone texting me that today is the anniversary of my ordination by this congregation. Wow, that is amazing. And that particular song I love because it is one of the biggest memories of my ordination is Miss Joan pointing at me and saying, "Hush, somebody's calling your name." And I was like, okay, I will do it. So anyway, that song has a lot of special meaning for me. Thank you for singing it. So I think I left all of my notes for the announcements on my desk. And so let's see. Welcome to the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF as we like to say. I'm Reverend Jacqueline Brett, the lead minister here now from those old days of having been ordained. It is quite miraculous. But I'm the lead minister here, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender identity, whomever you love, we welcome you to Build Beloved community here with us. And if you are visiting, we invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. All right, there's somebody in the chapel, somebody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad to have you all here and that you have chosen to spend your Sunday morning here with us. As always, we have 1,000,001 things going on here at ERUUF. So if you're visiting, directly after the service, next door is the class and choirs for visitors and newcomers, and all are welcome to participate in that class. We also, if you have children with you, after the time for all ages, we will be singing the children out, and all children who are visiting are welcome to participate in our classes for religious education. They are always a lot of fun. And also, speaking of our children, directly after service, our children's choirs will be rehearsing to sing, and I think they're singing. Are they singing at the end of this month? Yes, they will be making their debut in service at the end of this month. And so if you have a child with you and that child is interested in singing with one of our choirs, our kindergarten through third graders are in room 1 in the care building directly after classes end, and our 4th through 8th graders are in the music room of this building, which is right downstairs on the other side of this room. So we want to hear our children singing, and so it is a gift to us when they get to sing, and so I hope they'll participate. We also have a number of other things going on today. You may have seen, those of you who receive e-news, that we're asking for a survey to be filled out, and you will be hearing more about that during the service. But please keep that on your mind and maybe head over to the fellowship hall after service with regard to that survey. The other thing that's happening, and this is important, we are members of an organization. We are actually founding members of an organization known as Durham CAN, which stands for Congregations, Associations, and Neighborhoods. And Durham CAN actually engages in organizing congregations, associations, and neighborhoods throughout Durham around issues of justice that impact all of us, but particularly our most marginalized communities. So today, Ketty Telemak, who is the lead organizer for Durham CAN, will be here with us, and we will be conducting a listening session so that we want to hear from you about what you think are the most important and pressing issues that Durham CAN needs to organize around, build power around in the coming 2 to 3 years. Now, when I say build power, I mean Durham CAN literally sits down with the mayor and talks about these issues, or with other really key stakeholders in our community to talk about the issues that are pressing among the citizens of Durham. So we want to hear from you, and the listening session begins at 12:30. It'll be in the fellowship hall, and we invite you, everybody is invited to participate in that. So we hope to see you there. Today's service, we are pleased to welcome our guest musician, Cammie. Cammie, I left my paper homes on my desk. It's Rowan, is that? I got it. Cammie Rowan is our guest musician, guitarist. And of course, our music director is Wendy Looker, and I know I'm looking at your daughter, and then Kate, of course, is our pianist. Michelle Sager is our media technician, this broadcast technician this morning. John Fellheim is operating our camera, and Steve, tell me your last name, Steve. Daniel is our sound technician this morning, so we're happy for all of them to be here. And our David Huber is today's worship associate. So this week on Friday was Veterans Day, and so I don't know, do we have any veterans who are here present with us this morning? Please rise in body or spirit. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for your service, and we wanted to just light a candle to honor you. And we thank you. I was trying to figure out and remember who all the veterans are because I wanted somebody to speak in today's service, but I didn't. I knew a couple of people, and they weren't here, and so now I know who the rest of you are, and I'll remember that for next year. So anyway, this would be a great time to turn off or down any devices you might have on your person. And let's all take a moment to center ourselves. Let's all take a deep breath in together and let it out. Let us begin worship. Our opening words this morning are by Manish Mishra Marsetti. The ground shifts, sometimes slowly, sometimes like an earthquake, reminding us that the solidity we often love and seek is an illusion. The crumbling dust of the desert plains, the moist fertility of farmlands, the eroding coastline of tidal shores, all are changing.
Committees dissolve or are created. Leaders retire or step away. Ministers come and go. Bylaws are amended. New experiences lead to new truths, which foster evolution.
The natural course of life always pushing us toward greater understandings of what it means to be human. Everything about our existence points toward change, flexibility, and dynamic recreation.
And it's hard because change involves loss. Can we hold the loss as well while not holding ourselves back? The ground shifts, sometimes slowly, sometimes like an earthquake. Nothing is static.
May the flame of our chalice serve as a beacon for us, a lodestar guiding our way toward the new beginning that beckons. And so we will sing together, and Wendy will lead us. Please rise in body or spirit.
Yes, please join us in hymn number 368 in the gray hymnal. And you probably know this hymn better than I already know it. So there's a lower part, now let us sing. And if you know that part, please sing it. But I'm going to be singing the other part. Okay? Okay. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, don't be afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the love within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the joy within. Please turn and greet your neighbor.
I hear vibrancy and life and joy out there. I love it. I love it. And we have now come to that time in our service for the time for all ages. Hello, lovely echo of the space. As the sound greets us. Oh my gosh, people are already coming up. I haven't even gotten to say come up yet. Oh, come on down. Yeah, please. Love it. I love it. Come on down. This is the thing we do. You know what we do. I love that penguin too, by the way. Very adorable. Good choice. Oh, and some wonderful masks today. I love some decorative masks. Looking for the young and the medium and the young at heart to come on down. All of you get to be with us. This is actually a story for all of us, a time for all of us. Oh my gosh, you can scoot in if you want to. You can block my view of that. I don't need to see it. Or you can stay over there, it's okay. I see the smiles, so you're probably where you want to be. Well, this morning I want to ask you, our theme for the month is change. So, when things change, they are different than they were before. How many people like it when things change? Is that like a halfway hand? So. Good morning. How many people don't like it when things change? How many people out there like it when things change? Sometimes. Sometimes. I think that sometimes is definitely a solid response, y'all. Because sometimes things change and it's like, yes, this is a good thing. Sometimes things change and it's like, ouch, that hurt. And sometimes, though, we get to be the people who help make the change. And so we can help make the change a good thing. So our book today is called Change Sings. And it is actually a poem by the poet Amanda Gorman. And there's some lovely pictures in here. And our main character is going to be going around making some changes happen. So look for the changes that our lovely main character here with a guitar is making happen. You'll notice a lot of music words in here. Where's my first page, buddy? There you are. I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. She says she is not afraid of change. And you know what? Having read this story already, I believe it. But you get to see it. I scream with the skies of red and blue streamers. I dream with the cries of tried and true dreamers. Until she gets excited about change. I am a chant that rises and rings. There is hope where my change sings. What's she doing here? What's she doing? Giving a sock? It kind of does look like a sock. I think it's a trash bag, but it kind of looks like a huge sock, doesn't it? She's what? You know what? She is doing both of those things, in fact, isn't she? Holding out a trash bag and possibly making a friend. Now it's a little more clear. I read ahead. Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mysteries, I sing with all the planet and its hills of histories. So what are they doing here? Picking up trash. Trying to clean up the planet, make it a cleaner place. That's making a change. I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strengths and smarts, take a knee to make a stand. Anybody see what she's doing here?
She's giving them food.
Giving somebody food. Yes, another way to make a change. I'm bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my change sings. And she's left a package on this woman's doorstep. What do you think that is? What's in that bag? Groceries? Yeah, groceries. More food. People do need food. It is an important part of life. I show others tolerance, though it might take some courage. How do you think our friends over here look in this picture? Encouraging? Think they might be a little bit scared? I don't know, the dog looks a little upset. When dogs look upset, I get scared sometimes. But she's holding out this trumpet. And a jog tree. Yes, two people saw that. Very, very perceptive. I don't make a taller fence, but fight to build a better bridge. And look, she's welcomed that person into the kind of their friend group. And what are they doing? They're helping. Making a ramp for a person in a wheelchair. I think on this next page we're going to see, the person in the wheelchair has joined them in their band. I talk not only of distances from where and how we came. See them on a basketball court. I also walk our differences to show we are the same. Look how their band is growing. Just keeps on growing. I'm a movement that roars and springs. There's a wave where my change sings. Change sings where? There, inside me. Because I'm the change I want to see. Does this place look a little dusty and messy? We're about to see another change happen. Voila. Through all these people working together, it's getting cleaned up. As I grow, it grows like seeds. I am just what the world needs. I'm the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings. Inviting more people into this band. We are the wave starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We're what the world is becoming, and we know it won't be long. We all hear change strumming. Won't you sing along? So yes, sometimes change is a little scary. That is true. But we also can help it, and we can help it be a good thing. So thank you all for listening today and giving me some answers and some ideas. And now we are going to journey off into our own exploration. And would you like to sing us towards our explorations? Go now in peace, go now in peace. Yeah.
Isn't she terrific? You almost have to, I'm always amazed by her library of music and how whatever we're doing, she can find the song in her repertoire to play, to connect with it. You know, I know it feels like we're past it, but we're actually still in a pandemic. And one of the things that has happened, we had a lot of things that we did as a community as a result of the pandemic. And we've had a couple of things that we have held on to as a result because they were good changes that we made. And so one of them is the member relations outreach that some of you I know are making the calls for right now, or perhaps you've received a call or a contact. And that began as a result of the board declaring an annual vision of ministry during the first year of our pandemic that we would stay connected to one another. And so what we did was we called every single member of this congregation, and that's over 700 people that received calls, as well as some of our friends. And so that is something that we have kept. We thought that was a keeper and a good thing to do, which is why we're still doing that right now. The other thing that happened during the pandemic is that there were some organizations or groups that we were in relationship with, in partnership with, that needed a little bit of extra help. And so during the pandemic, we created, during the month of November, this special congregational giving for justice. And so it was one organization during the first year of the pandemic that actually was having a difficult time feeding people in the homeless shelter. And so this congregation was quite generous. And we took this collection up the entire month of November. Then last year, we had refugees here from Afghanistan that our congregation was assisting and supporting, and actually one of them has recently had their first child, their first American citizen, has been born a few weeks ago. And so we supported that effort in helping some of the refugees that we were working with. And so what we decided this year, the coordinating team, is that we would keep this. We would keep this sort of November giving around some issue of justice. And the one thing that makes it different, because it is not replacing our Generosity Sundays, which occur every 6 weeks. What this does is it's only for the month of November, and it's generally to assist an organization that we already have a relationship with, as we have done in the past. And so here today to talk about the organization that we'll be giving to throughout this month of November is Beth Harvat.
So this year, we turn our thoughts and actions to the issue of affordable housing. And we selected the Durham Community Land Trust for our offerings this November. This organization has been a recipient of a Generosity Sunday, where we helped install awnings to help with their passive solar homes. And it was one of the groups that was featured for 2,500 Hours of Love. ERUUFians have volunteered during their annual Dig Day, which involves cleaning up yards and improving landscape. Established in 1987, the DCLT, is for short, was founded by neighbors in the West End of Durham concerned about empty, decaying houses, rising crime rates, and absentee landlords. Now, over 30 years later, DCLT manages 367 permanently affordable homes or rental units in 7 neighborhoods in Durham. 87% of their units are rentals. The remaining 13% belong to homeowners, with DCLT retaining the land in their trust. Just what does affordable housing imply? The average monthly rent in Durham a year ago for a 2-bedroom unit was $1,200. DCLT's average of rent for the same type of unit, was $460 per month. 85% of DCLT residents have an annual income that is 30% of the annual median income in Durham. That's under $30,000 a year. To bring that figure home, that means if you work in food service, childcare, retail sales, or construction at the average salary for those jobs, you would qualify for a DCLT unit. The need is great. DCLT has a 12-month waiting list. But DCLT is accomplishing much more than just providing permanent affordable housing. They advocate for neighborhood revitalization in their communities by supporting neighborhood associations, empowering residents, some of whom are on their board of directors, and helping develop leaders. They counteract gentrification. They build porches, sidewalks, driveways, clean up yards, have a community garden. They have established group living homes for special populations, seniors, people with mental health issues, homeless veterans, people with sickle cell anemia, so that the residents can support each other. Furthermore, DCLT not only works to make sure they provide affordable housing, but also they provide energy-efficient homes that save on utility bills. This means that the standard for their homes involves adding insulation, installing insulated windows, sealing crawl spaces, putting in energy-efficient appliances, installing solar hot water heaters or solar panels, or even building entire passive solar homes. Just to give you one example of how they do this, in December of 2016, they bought 54 units of existing scattered site affordable homes from a private seller in East Durham. These properties, some multifamily buildings, some duplexes, some single-family homes, were all occupied, had not been invested in for many years, and were in need of substantial renovation. DCLT started renovating in 2018, and they're about to start their second phase to bring these homes up to their standards of quality. To learn more about DCLT, go to their website. It's dclt.org. You will be inspired by all they are doing here in Durham. And their annual meeting is tomorrow night on Zoom. The link is on the website, and anybody's welcome to join in.
Good morning. I'm Lily Searles, and speaking of change, I am a member of the Theory of Change Committee. This is a new committee that has been created by our Board of Trustees, and I'm here to introduce you to the work of our committee and encourage you to participate in a survey that we have created. The Theory of Change Committee's purpose is to strategize, guide, and monitor the implementation of the Vision for Racial Equity and Inclusion, or REI for short, at ERUUF. Reverend Brett is the committee chair, and the other committee members are Elizabeth Alt, Julie Edmonds, and Ann Verdine Jones. I expect that many of you are wondering, what the heck is a theory of change? A theory of change is a description of how change is expected to unfold in a particular context. Nonprofit organizations often create theories of change and use them as the basis for strategic planning for social change initiatives. We are called the Theory of Change Committee because our strategic planning for racial equity and inclusion will be based on a theory of change that was created by ERUUF's original change team, a group that has completed its work and no longer exists. I was also a member of that team and facilitated our theory of change process. Other team members were Elizabeth Alt, Diane Blount, Dan Grandstaff, and David Huber. Reverend Kerr and Reverend Brett were our staff partners. Following an established approach, the original change team defined a vision for racial equity and inclusion at ERUUF and mapped out a set of interrelated goals on the pathway toward this vision. We also identified as best we could the activities that would enable our community to reach each goal. Together, these components, the goals and the activities designed to reach those goals, comprise our REI theory of change. It shows how ongoing activities fit with the goals in the proposed pathway of change and identifies additional activities that are needed to move this process forward. This theory of change is not set in stone. Rather, it is a living document that will be evaluated and revised as needed. However, the original change team believed that it reflects the aspirations and needs expressed by many ERUUF members who participated in the workshops, classes, and conversations that change team members coordinated and facilitated over the years. So what is the vision for racial equity and inclusion? The vision that arose from the change team's conversations and deliberations is that ERUUF can be the spiritual home for people of all races, and an effective voice for racial justice in Durham and beyond. This vision is essentially a call for our congregation to live more fully into our mission and core values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. It encourages us to identify and dismantle the barriers that often separate many of us from others because of racial differences, and to work on creating more equitable and inclusive institutions, including, but not limited to, our own. Because racial biases and racism are unconsciously embedded in our psyches, our systems, and institutions, responding to this vision's call will not be easy. but our theory of change outlines a way for us to do this. We believe that engaging in this transformational process will empower us to co-create an environment at ERUUF where people of all races who want to be part of a progressive spiritual community like ours can thrive, be their authentic selves, and truly belong. And it will empower us to collaborate more effectively with groups outside of ERUUF to promote the fair treatment and well-being of all. The original Change team has passed the baton to the new Theory of Change Committee. And after the winter holidays and some other very special and important events happen, this new committee will provide you with opportunities to learn more about the proposed change process. These conversations are important because the commitment to racial equity and inclusion must be widely shared if the vision is to become a reality. It cannot be accomplished or sustained by a few dedicated members. We realize that ERUUF community members are not all of the same mind and are at different levels of commitment to racial equity and inclusion. That is to be expected. The results of the Racial Equity Inclusion Survey that we have created will give us a clearer view of where we are as a congregation and will help guide future work. So the Theory of Change Committee encourages all members and friends to complete this REI survey before December 2nd. Julie Edmonds and I will be available with laptops in the fellowship hall after the service if you want to complete it then. Otherwise, you can find the link to the survey in the weekly e-news. Thank you.
Please join me now in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we give thanks this morning for the gifts of this day. In lifting up our joys and concerns, we hold in our hearts all those impacted by recent hurricanes and floods. We hold in our hearts all, here and all the world over, who are marginalized, who may be facing food insecurity, and who may have been forgotten. We hold in our hearts Jean Presson, who had surgery on October 25th and is recovering well. We pause to remember and appreciate the sacrifice of all veterans who have served this country. We hold in our hearts the heart and soul of this country after the recent election. May we find ways to come together with deeper understanding and compassion. With a spirit of gratitude, we welcome the joy of being in community. May we always work to offer a place of belonging for all who come, to feel part of something greater. We open this morning to listen to the words and music that bring us together in worship and call us to our sacred purpose as a welcoming and radically inclusive fellowship where we recognize and value the humanity of all who come through our doors, as a vibrant, diverse, and engaged community where spirits are nourished and love finds action, as a visible force for justice, equity, and compassion in our community as we live the transformative power of love. On this day, let us slow down and be together in this moment, centered in the heart, open to the invitation, the call to discover the power and potential of embracing change. And let us pause for a moment of silent meditation. And so it is. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
So much. That was beautiful. Thank you. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. I just did the wrong place.
Or am I in the wrong place?
No, I'm in the wrong
You're in
place.
the wrong place?
I'm in the
Okay.
wrong place. You go ahead.
Okay.
I was looking, yeah. I changed some things, and so I forgot to change. I said
All
I was
good.
going to do
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. My name is David Huber, and until recently, I was one of the facilitators of the White Awareness Group, or WAG for short. WAG started up in 2017 as a fresh iteration of ERUUF's White Caucus Group, holding a space for white congregants at ERUUF to process the deep spiritual work around our racialized social training. This is challenging and rewarding group work, and I feel very good about the work that we did together. Earlier this year, it became apparent that it was time for a fresh group of organizers to take the lead. Lydia Quee, Eric Hodges, and Laura Phoenix were ready and willing to step in to facilitate the group with fresh vision and energy, keeping this vital space alive and thriving. I applaud them and the courageous work they are doing with WAG today. Despite my readiness to shift focus and hand over the reins, I found that letting go was harder than I expected. When I learned about the new leader's decision to change the group's name to the White Anti-Racist Group, though still WAG for short, it was not easy for me to accept. I realize now that I wanted them to carry the torch, only I wanted them to do it my way. There was something of myself that I was leaving behind in that group that I wanted preserved. Something about who I am remained entangled there, and I hadn't yet found a way to understand my value to the community outside of that. In other words, I was ready to move on, but I wasn't ready to let go. I had not yet opened myself to the possibility of ushering in necessary fresh energy, because I believed that I was running the risk of being forgotten. I wrestled with this. After conversations with the new leaders of the group, as well as Reverend Jacqueline, I was eventually able to find my way back to this immutable truth. While I matter, and the work I have done matters, the work of the group, the work of this community, is larger than me. That being a part of the flow of ERUUF means shifting and moving is necessary, as ERUUF is always shifting and moving, rearranging itself. By crystallizing a part of myself in the past and disallowing myself from experiencing and accepting the end of an exciting and transformative time, I actually run the risk not of being forgotten, but of remaining undiscovered. I could even become a barrier to the forward movement of this river. Allowing my focus to soften, my grip to relax, allowing that crystallized part of me to dissolve is frightening, but also a liberating and daring act of trust, faith, solidarity, freedom, and discovery. Today, I am still in that liminal space of uncertainty and possibility, where I feel a sense of floating, somewhat unmoored, somewhat adrift within the flow. Wherever I find myself next, I trust it will be good. I have faith it will be right where I should be when I'm ready for it. I choose to be a part of the river. I choose it now and wherever we may flow.
Amen. Thank you, David, and Lily, and Beth, and Cammie. Thank all of you. It's wonderful. James Baldwin once wrote, "For nothing is fixed forever and forever and forever. It is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses they have. So this month, we have been considering change. And this past week, it was pretty big. Tuesday's election, which seems to have happened so long ago as time and our attention already seems to have shifted so quickly. The election signified change in our city, our counties, our state, and this country. And irrespective of who won what, this change is true. And of course, we're not yet complete. There is still Georgia. This weekend, our congregation spent some time exploring change with regional staff from the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, who led a workshop called the Lead Minister Startup. An event such as this is recommended as a way for a congregation and its new minister, who would be yours truly, to reflect upon where the congregation has been, where it is currently, and the direction it's headed in. And as I said earlier, I didn't even realize that this weekend was the weekend of my ordination by this congregation several years ago. And so, I don't know. I was thinking, wow, I'm just so busy on the move with this congregation that had it not been from somebody texting me that, the day would have gone by. But on the first evening this weekend, those determined and intrepid souls who attended on Friday night, having moved through a torrent of rain to get here, were led through a process of reflecting upon the legacy of collaborative or shared ministry with each of the previous ministers who've served at this congregation. People were invited to think back and name the feelings they experienced during those chapters in ERUUF's history. It seemed, at least from my perspective, to be a highly revelatory process that brought up emotions and energies that became palpable in the room, because despite all the changes over the years, some feelings still seemed unresolved. The following day, the facilitators guided the group to the present moment, the present time, during which everyone got to reflect on our newly developing relationship, which is especially important because though I've been here for quite some time and we've been in relationship for a while now, it has now changed that relationship. And while familiar, it's also now quite different. And so our purpose this weekend was to reflect upon what does it all mean now that you've called me as your lead minister? While all new lead ministers signal change, some ministers are called with an implicit understanding that they will maintain the status quo. Ultimately, keep things just as they are. Thank you very much. I think you all know by now that is not me. I am not that minister. As David so well put it in his thoughtful reflection about what he initially believed would be a welcome and fresh change in leaders of what is now the white anti-racism group, he began to recognize how he wanted things to remain as they had been, or for things to only change in ways that he felt were okay. When a change is one that we desire, whether it's a personal change or a change within a community, the prospect of it all can at first seem quite gratifying and exciting even. Then change happens. And while some things seem fine, we're troubled by other things. It's easy to find ourselves wondering with discomfort and perhaps a little suspicion even that something's wrong because things aren't the way they used to be. We agreed that change was needed, but not that change. We bemoan the ending of the things that seemed to be working okay and had no reason to end. And so while it's exciting to call a new lead minister, it's another thing altogether to figure out how to live with her. Because even when change feels like it's desired, it's also hard. And change can be difficult to embrace. The writer and consultant William Bridges, whose work focused on personal and organizational transitions, pointed out that change is itself situational and all about the external stuff. It's the reorganization of staff, bringing in new technology that allows for multi-platform worship, adding an addition to a building or changing the time or location of meetings. It's a congregation calling a new lead minister. The reason we begin to feel uneasy about even a desired change is because change brings about transition, which is not the same as change. Transitions are psychological and internal. It means coming to terms inwardly with our emotions about the details of the new situation that a change is bringing about. This work, that work of coming to terms is so essential and not to be avoided if we want a change to be positive. Bridges said that transitions in communities, as in life, are a three-phase process that begin with an ending, which is what our ERUUF facilitators guided us through. The internal stuff and all the feelings about ERUUF's ministerial endings and their legacies. And as some of us discovered this weekend or learned last week when we explored personal transitions, endings can stir up feelings of loss, of grief, anger, nostalgia, or maybe even some relief. In community transitions, there might be as many feelings as there are people in the room. And that's okay. We can't really leave an old situation behind if we haven't fully dealt with its ending. The second phase is a neutral zone, or what I call liminal space. It's an in-between time when the old is gone, but the new hasn't quite taken hold yet. We're still figuring things out and trying to form or accept new patterns and ways of doing things or of being together. Or perhaps we're wrestling with the meaning of our resistance of what's happening, as David did when the WAG group changed its name. Such wrestling can be healthy when we recognize and accept it as our personal stuff, that in a community such as this, we might engage with it as spiritual or internal work that can lead us to grow as a human being human, and to possibly experience transformation. And the third phase is the new beginning. This is what we've been aiming for all along. We experience new energy and a new sense of purpose. We're ready to embrace change. So what I've been wondering, especially over the last 24 hours, is where are we as a community in this paradigm? I believe the endings have been mostly addressed, though there might be residual feelings that some might still need to lay to rest. And I encourage you, those of you who still have feelings that you need to lay to rest, I want to encourage you with teachings from two of our wisdom teachers we spoke of last week. The Buddha, who taught impermanence, that everything changes and is constantly transformed, both things we perceive as positive and also, quite thankfully, the negative things, even if the latter doesn't change as quickly as we might like. It is when we forget the things that things are not permanent, as the Buddha taught, that is when we suffer and bring about our own suffering. And as James Baldwin said, nothing is fixed forever and forever and forever. It's important to remember that. He wrote those words in 1964. The second wisdom teacher was, of course, Octavia Butler, who wrote about the delusion of permanence and that we are in a constant state of transformation. All that you touch, you change. And all that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change, said Octavia Butler. So I personally suspect that the phase we're in right now is actually liminal space. And here's why. I learned this weekend that some folks are waiting for me to name my vision for our community. I suppose so that we might get moving on to our new beginning. And so while I am quite flattered by this, and I do have some thoughts, unfortunately, I've got to disabuse you of this notion. I've no plan to name my vision for this community, nor have I a desire to. We name the vision for this community. And so though I believe it was quite clear that my mandate in being called was not one of status quo, but that of change built upon a good and strong foundation that has been created here over time, I must be clear in saying that the only vision I personally cast for us is that of living into possibility, which is part of my core personal theology. It is you and I together who will determine what that possibility will be. As we move through this liminal time toward our new beginning, I have as many questions as I might have answers. How will our new collaborative ministry be made manifest? What will it usher forward, and how will we hold and be with its changes and transitions? Who will we become together? This is an exciting time for both our congregation and our denomination. And I want to share with you a little of what's on the horizon that we're all a part of envisioning together. So back in September, our Board of Trustees declared, as it does every year, an annual vision of ministry, which consisted of three big things. And I was really gratified this weekend to see those three big things naturally emerge during some of the conversations that people had. The annual vision of ministry, which you can find on our website, is number one, to deepen ERUUF's commitment to racial equity and inclusion by introducing the theory of change. And you heard about the beginnings of this work from Lily earlier. And so I'm asking you, please fill out the survey. It will be so helpful as we seek to realize this part of the annual vision of ministry, to deepen our commitment to racial equity and inclusion. You'll be hearing more about the theory of change in the coming weeks and coming months, but your filling out that survey will influence what gets created after that. So make sure to see Lily and Julie in the fellowship hall after service. And so the second thing from the board is to reinvigorate ERUUF's community through engagement, connection, and faith formation for all ages. There is so much opportunity for creativity, joy, and inner growth as we focus on realizing this. And there are already compelling ideas coming forth. And finally, the board invites us to imagine and articulate a bold 2023 to 2026 strategic plan to advance ERUUF's mission, vision, and values. And so in January, there's going to be a strategic planning week in which everyone in the congregation will be invited to come together to imagine and articulate a vision and plan that we'll form together. A vision and plan that we'll share in the possibilities of together as we head toward that new beginning. And so what's most important to understand here is that this is not mine alone to hold. It is ours. I am happy to lead the way, and though I might have some ideas, we have to ultimately envision all of this and act together. And so our UU denomination is calling us towards some changes and transitions as well, and some of you may have heard about these. Our beloved 7 principles, 6 sources, and the explanation of our purpose are being reconsidered and revised as required by the UUA's bylaws. And this is all pretty radical. But ours is a living tradition with an emphasis on living more than on tradition. It's an interesting and exciting thing to consider that we UUs are brave, we're sturdy, and progressive enough to consider the nowness of our tradition. What new revelations have occurred? How have we evolved as a people? It's one thing to pat ourselves on the back for being progressive, and quite another thing to see what such a guideline in the UUA bylaws might bring, especially if we're in resistance to such change and transition. If this change is of interest to you, and I really hope it is, as it impacts core elements of who we say we are as a denomination, and some of our principles and values, actually all of our principles and values. So you can find out how to become more engaged, both at ERUUF and with the UUA, because they too want to hear from us. They want to hear your feedback. All you have to do is go to the events section on the homepage of our website, click on the link there, and it'll take you to the pages that tell you how to get involved with this, both here and at the UUA. The draft of the revisions to our principles will actually be voted on at the General Assembly, which will take place in person and online this coming June. And so any of you who are informed members of ERUUF, will have an opportunity to be considered as a delegate from our congregation and can vote on all of this. Another important vote taking place at the General Assembly this year is that we'll be electing a new president for our denomination. A lot of people don't even know that. And yet that is a thing that will be happening. And it's a pivotal thing that will be happening. This is a time of great transition and change, both at ERUUF and in Unitarian Universalism here in the United States. And each of us has an opportunity to be a part of it all. I believe an important question we each might ask ourselves is, how do we hold change and live into transitions within ourselves and as we seek to co-create and be beloved community together? The activist, writer, facilitator, and emergent wisdom teacher Adrienne Marie Brown writes in her book, Holding Change, that this is a time when we need a lot of holders of change. It is time to move toward ways of being that are focused on listening to each other deeply and accepting each other whole. We need to learn new ways of being in space together that helps us see beyond false constructs of superiority and inferiority without asking us to sacrifice what has shaped us. We need to study being receptive and non-judgmental with each other, letting the earth and community hold us until we remember we already belong. I believe holding change can be sacred work, she says, and I'll admit it is most satisfying when the sacred is palpable in the room. And so, my friends, may we imagine, envision, and live into all the possibilities of our new beginning. May we hold to change and transition and one another in our embrace as beloved community. May it be so, my friends. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. And so each week we gather together in community and bring our resources, our talents, our time, our treasure, and just our beingness, ourselves together. And so at this time, we are going to take up this morning's offering, and I just remind you that this offering, the offering throughout the month of November, will go to the Durham Community Land Trust. So if you are writing a check, if you still write checks, put DCLT in the memo line, or you can go to ERUUF.org/give, and you'll see a drop down that will allow you to, is there a drop down for DCLT? What should we do? I'm sorry? Okay, so it's not there today, but okay, just put it in the collection plate. So if you're going online on your device, go to ERUUF.org/give and just put it in the collection plate. And so I will turn it over to you. Blessings of this beloved community, blessings of music, blessings of people who give their time and energy to see that we thrive and move forward, and just blessings of all the gifts that we form in community. And so we will now have a final hymn, is that right? And yes.
Please rise in body or spirit. We'll sing hymn 1017, Building a New Way. We are building a new way. We are building every day. We are building a new way. We can working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Our closing words this morning are from the poet Dorianne Lux, from her piece In Any Event. And she writes, I shall not lament the human, not yet. There is something more to come. Our hearts a gold mine, not yet plumbed, an uncharted sea. Nothing is gone forever. If we came from dust and will return to dust, then we can find our way into anything. What we are capable of is not yet known, but I praise us now in advance. Go in peace, my friends. Go in love. Amen.